Welcome back to Product Data Weekly. This is a short practical podcast where each week we break down the operational issues that slow down launches, create manual work, or quietly limit growth inside product data and e-commerce teams. There's no theory, no hype. I am Claire, and this week I am riding solo. My sidekick Ben is making his way back from a trip to Australia, visiting lots of our customers, attending an event, and meeting with lots of potential new customers. So I thought actually next week we might get him to break down what he's seeing happening out in the Australian market, what are the common product data challenges that they are experiencing. We might make that the topic for next week. But this week, what we will be talking about is the 5 layers of product data optimization. This is a layered approach, so it's not a checklist. Let's just start by saying that. There was some kind of internal debate about which layers should come first. So this approach is if you already have an existing catalog and you just wanted to go and rework that. You'll kind of understand what I mean as we go through the approaches, because generally if we were to start a new product data program with somebody, we would always put structuring their data as the very first thing, because from that you then are able to build out. But what we're assuming in this layered approach is that you already have a structure there, and that this is kind of what you're building on from that. It's not, a rip it all out and start again. It's a kind of layered building on it approach. So just to give that caveat. Also, the reason why it is a layered approach on a checklist is that if you try and do, let's say, layer 4 and 5 of this before doing the 1, 2, and 3, you will hit a roadblock because you don't have that foundational information there. So without further ado, layer 1 is your basic data. So this is just what it says on the tin. It's your product identity, your core features, your product type, and which family or category it belongs to. How complete is your product data for this product? So this is all about focusing on your attributes. So each of those categories should have what we would call a mandatory attributes. It might be 5, it might be 10, depending on how complex the product is, that every one of those should be filled out for each product. That is your base layer, your minimum requirement to kind of kickstart this. Every SKU should have a name, a type, a category, and then the must-have attributes for that category. There should be no blanks if your categories have been defined properly. But let's assume for now that you have a mandatory list. The first step is making sure that you've got that completeness. Layer 2 is readability. So a lot of people try to create product descriptions or feature bullets, or actually even creating a good product title is really difficult unless you've filled out those mandatory attributes. So here, what you're looking at is titles, descriptions, keywords, whatever your customer's seeing that they can kind of scan and understand what the product is and what they need it for. So, the title should be able to say in one line what it is. The description should answer the top 3 buying questions within that description. Keywords should be present, not just filler keywords. It's actually what is your customer searching for that is going to get them to that. A good product description is the answer to the buyer's question, and a bad one is just noise, basically. So make sure that you are creating product descriptions with those, but you need that information from your mandatory attributes to be able to just describe the product to the customer. Layer 3. So we kind of, we spoke a bit about internally about whether product relations or the next layer, structured data, should come first. But we're going to stick with product relations because it's all about, variants, similar products, substitute, accessories. This is all about making the navigation between your pages relatable. Like, have you identified in your catalog how your products connect to one another? This is such an easy thing to do if you know your products, which I'm hoping many of you do, but it's also a really easy tap to turn on to increase your average order value. If you're looking at substitutes, if you've got out of stocks, what else are you recommending there? A lot of search and merch, they require that level of information to make sure that they can do customers also viewed, or being able to suggest another product if it's out of stock. It basically ensures that you're increasing your average order value and that you're not losing a sale. So this is really important, but again, you've got to understand your product to be able to do that. Layer 4 is structured data. So as I said before, if we were going in there and we were kind of redoing the whole thing, we would actually start with the structured data. So we'd be looking at, for each product, we would be looking at each category and we would be identifying what the optimal structure is for that. So it's, the attributes, the features, the units, consistent values, LOVs, all of that. We would be identifying those, and then we would be going back and then we would be filling those attributes. This layer, and look, you can go and you can rework what you've already got to optimize your structure. But the reason why this is so important, this layer, is because this is the layer that makes AI actually work. So this is where agentic AI, if you don't have structured data, you probably will not get surfaced. And the reason for that is because it's scanning so many pages so quickly that the more context and the more structure that you can give it, the more authority your page generally has. So that's why you've got the way that you describe the product page for a customer from a readability perspective, and then you've got the structure, which is how the AI reads it. So a lot of people want to kind of skip to sorting out their product pages for AI, but again, you need to be looking at those kind of first layers to make sure that those layers 1 to 3 are complete and optimized. And then what you have is layer 5. So layer 5 is the product expertise, or that additional knowledge that you are sharing with the customer. So it could be compatibility, installation, usage conditions, FAQs. It's everything that if you had Roger out on the road selling to a customer, it's all of those things that he would be imparting this knowledge to the customer. We work with a lot of businesses who have an immense amount of product expertise internally in the business that doesn't really ever get surfaced anymore. The marketing departments, they're making up their own things rather than actually going and extracting that information from the product experts in the business. So this is a layer that you could really use to your competitive advantage to make your product pages sing for your customers, but also this creates even more authority for AI. So if you have this level of information, AI sees that as very authoritative, and it actually makes it understand the product more. So again, you'll have more chance of being surfaced. So the difference, let's say, between layer 4 and level 5. So you've got the structured data there, which is kind of giving the AI, the list of attributes in a structured manner that's consistent, so that it's able to kind of identify and think, yep, that could be a possibility. Then what layer 5 is doing is saying, okay, yeah, this is the attribute that we've identified in the structured data, and this is what it does, and this is what the buyer's looking for. So this matches perfectly with that. So that is, it's like one is data and the other is like opinion or judgment, which helps the AI surface you. So where can you get this information from, this product expertise? As I said, most of you will have product experts in the business. You can get it from customer service. They are a absolute goldmine of product information. You could get it from the reasons why people are returning items. You could get it from your sales team, product managers. There's so many different areas in the business of lots of anecdotal stuff that might not even be in a data sheet. So go and get that information and then, layer it into your product pages. So how could you kick this off? You could pick one category in your catalog, and out of 5, you could go and score it against these 5 layers. What's your basic data look like? What's the readability on the product pages on these pages? How do they connect to each other in the catalog? Is your data structured in a way that is consistent throughout that category? And then layer 5 is, are you actually optimizing those product pages with the product expertise that you have within your business? What are some common mistakes that we see happening with these 5 layers? So as I said before, starting at layer 2, so trying to get your descriptions out there because marketing's saying that they need it for the product to go live, without identifying all of the key attributes for that product. A big one that we also see is buying an AI search tool before fixing layers 1 to 3. Your search tool will really struggle if you haven't done that. Treating relations, so that's layer 3, as kind of a one-off project. You're introducing, well, most businesses are introducing lots of products all the time, so you need to be constantly reviewing that. Lines get discontinued all the time, so it's just about keeping on top of that and auditing that and making sure that that's an ongoing process within your business. Confusing layer 4 with layer 5. So hopefully I did that justice, that the layer 4 is the structure. So that's looking at kind of cleaning, normalizing, getting all of that data structured in a way. Layer 5 is that added context about that product, so that AI basically really understands what that product is used for. So that is your 5 layers of product data optimization. I hope you enjoyed that and look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week.